Hello and welcome to my presentation of something I'm calling the map of human behaviors. Okay, so here is the map that I have drawn, and it goes from a kind of a lower octave or a lower vibrational state to a higher vibrational state. Now this doesn't mean that the lower one is bad and this one, the higher one, is good. It just is to show the difference between the lower frequency behaviors and the higher frequency behaviors. Okay, so let's start from the wheel of the lower human behaviors. They are named after the key points: actions, trauma and pain, world fear frequency, conditioning and programming, desires. And in the center of everything, there is the fear of nothingness or death. Okay, so this being a wheel type map, it has no beginning and no end, but I am going to start from the actions department, because the actions department is the switch between the lower vibrational behaviors and the higher vibrational behaviors. And again, I want to remind us all that it's not that the lower ones are bad. The lower behaviors are what the higher behaviors would be if we have a bad attitude. So these lower vibrational behaviors are the raw material that needs to be upgraded and alchemized so that they can turn into higher vibrational behaviors. Okay, so I'm going to start with actions. So actions are what we do in the world. They are the visible outcome of choices that I make. So I can take an action, and then in the physical world, and then it is seen by other people, or it is unseen if it is a hidden action. But actions are what influence trauma and pain. But I'm gonna go opposite and see and analyze where do the actions come from. So what you do in the world is influenced by your desires. So because you want something, or because you have a need for something, because you want something, you do the action. So the action depends upon the desire. So desires, we all have them. So where do they come from? Desires they are created by our conditioning or our programming. And by this I mean the way we grew up, the way we have been brought up by our parents, by our society, the programming we received from our school, the programming we received from our cultural conditioning, our friends, all of these, this environment that influenced what we want. So our environment influenced what we want. So this is the conditioning or programming part. So this goes also further back into the world fear frequency. The conditioning or programming that we receive as kids growing up, because we come as like clean pieces of paper, we come as souls just ready to experience life, and we receive this conditioning. And the conditioning that we receive depends on the world frequency. Now, on the lower circle, this is called world fear frequency. Now, the world fear frequency is a big, huge aura that is created by all the billions and billions and billions of human auras that live on the planet. And together they all make the world fear frequency. Unless for a few people who operate at love frequency. Well, I don't know if it's a few or many, but anyway, other than those people who operate at love frequency, the others are going to be operating at fear frequency. It's simple. So the world fear frequency also depends upon something. The world fear frequency comes out of trauma or pain. So all the combined traumas and painful experiences that we have lived as beings, as people, as a species here on this planet, all of these painful and traumatic experiences are stored inside our DNA, and together they create the world fear frequency. And so trauma and pain doesn't just exist like this. It came from somewhere. So trauma and pain came out of actions. So, a group of people go and burn a village like it used to happen, and even nowadays. So this action of the people who burned the village created trauma and pain for the people who were involved. And then, because we are all connected, and we are actually one singular consciousness in reality, this trauma and pain that these people felt is stored in the world fear frequency. It adds to the fear frequency of the world. And this fear frequency operates, and we feel it through the conditioning or the programming that we receive when we are kids. It has influenced our parents, our societies. The world fear frequency that we are all connected to has influenced our parents, our societies, our educational system, and most parts of our human social structure. So because it has been the conditioning or programming has been affected by the world fear frequency, so the conditioning or the programming is what you are taught, what you are told how to be, basically, and what you should want. And out of this, what you want or your desires are born, which then follow into the actions. Out of what you want, you do. So, at the center of all these behavioral things, behavioral parts that I have explained, is the fear of nothingness or death. And by this I mean, it is out of our, this is our biggest boss guy fear. The fear of complete non-existence, of eternal blackness and silence. This is like the basic horror of the human being. And if we do not become friends with nothingness, or death or silence, whatever word you want to call it, if we don't train ourselves slowly, if we don't become familiar and friendly with this nothingness, then subconsciously this fear of nothingness will affect everything else that you do, that you want, the way that you are conditioned or programmed, and also the world fear frequency depends upon the fear of nothingness and trauma and pain. And it is out of this fear that all the negative human symptoms and human behaviors come to exist. Now, in the next part, I'm going to talk about what I mean by what can we actually do to become friends with the nothingness or the death, so that this subconscious fear stops being a subconscious fear and we merge with it. What can we do to become friends with nothingness?
Okay, so how do we become more friends with nothingness? How do we become more familiar with the feeling of nothingness, which is connected to the feeling of death? Because if you don't become closer to this, if you don't incorporate death and nothingness into your life and everythingness, then this fear of nothingness in the center is going to keep subconsciously sabotaging many of your things that you do, things that you want, the way that you affect other people, the way that other people affect you, what you expect, everything. So, the one thing you need to do, and the simplest of all techniques, is to just sit down, shut up, and listen. Listen to the world around you. Listen to your breath. Feel your heart beating at its pace. And don't try to change anything. In our days, people call this meditation. And it has become, a kind of a spiritual thing to do. People ask, do you meditate? How many hours, how much time do you meditate? But for me, this is just a fancy word. Meditate is just a fancy word for shut up, sit down, and listen. Put some time in your day. Create the time in your day. Take the opportunity, instead, for example, instead of staying and scrolling on your phone, put 10 minutes, 20 minutes, as much as you can. Not all day, but put some time into just sitting down and breathing and listening without trying to change anything. Just be, without an agenda, without a purpose, just doing nothing. And slowly, this will start to help you to feel more comfortable with this uncomfortable feeling of emptiness and nothingness and silence and, I gotta do something. Take some time in your day to relax and do nothing and listen. Okay, so slowly and day by day, after you have started to become familiar with the feeling of nothingness, with not being sure in your mind, with not knowing, with just being, once you start spending more and more time with this kind of state, you will jump out of the fear of nothingness and into the opposite of the fear of nothingness, which is the acceptance of nothingness or death. Slowly, slowly, by practicing, just by sitting down and doing nothing and listening, you will start to understand, your body will start to understand what it is like to accept nothingness and not knowing. The acceptance of nothingness is at the center of the higher vibrational wheel of human behavior. The different stations on this wheel are called, just like in the lower one, the actions. But instead of trauma and pain, we go into service and kindness. We have the world love frequency, and then conditioning or programming, and then desires. These are the same. So, as we have seen, actions that are influenced from the fear of nothingness are rooted in fear and ego, basically. They will cause trauma and pain. Actions will go down into trauma and pain for others and for yourself. So by raising the frequency, by including the totality of vibration, by bringing nothingness and death into your life, by just shutting up, sitting down and listening, you will start to transform the energy of your actions into, instead of trauma and pain, they will flow into service to others and kindness. But they have to be real. Okay? This is something to practice at the same time as practicing meditation or sit down, shut up and listen. Just make some actions that are rooted in service and kindness, but they have to be real. Don't fake them. You have to really mean it. And you will start to mean it slowly, slowly, the more you practice shutting up, sitting down and listening. So, in the same way as the lower wheel, in the higher wheel, the actions that you do are influenced by your desires. Now, just like before, the desires are influenced and the desires inside you are created, are built by your conditioning or your programming. It's the same as the lower wheel, but instead up here there are the conditioning or programming brings love vibrations into the programming of you as a soul, basically, as a kid. And just like before, the conditioning or the programming, so how your society programs you, how your parents program you, how your whatever conditioning is applied to you, this conditioning is influenced by the world frequency. But in this case, it's a world love frequency, not a world fear frequency. So the world love frequency, the combined feeling of goodness and kindness and caring for one another, these very high vibrational states, when it's like in your body, the cells love each other, they help each other. So once we start the world love frequency is created by actions of service and kindness. So if I do something nice, but genuinely nice, I have to really mean it. If I do something good for somebody else or for me, but it has to be a good thing, and I have to mean it, it has to be honest, then if I come to you and I help you with something, you're gonna feel good. You're gonna feel good, and because humanity is one being and one consciousness, actually, we will feel that acts and actions that are coming out of service and kindness help the world love frequency grow, which the more the world love frequency grows, it changes the way you are conditioned and programmed, because your parents, your society, your religion, your whatever will have love as a base operating system frequency. Not like down there in the world fear frequency. Your conditioning comes out of the collective love of everything. And then when you are conditioned in a loving way, you want nice things. You want good things. You want, naturally, you want to care. You want to help. It is an automatic, the more the love is a base operating frequency and base operating system in your being, it is a natural, like 1-2, it is a natural thing to want the good of all beings. You are overwhelmed by the love that you feel and you want to share that. This is the primary instinct of a being that is operating out of love frequency. And we see that at the center of all this is the acceptance. So the more that you accept nothingness, accept not knowing, accept patience, accept, ultimately, accept the feeling of death. Acceptance, I accept, it means I include. It's like I hug, I embrace the feeling of nothingness or death. And all you gotta do to accept, to slowly, okay, maybe it's not gonna work from one day to the other, but slowly take time to shut up, sit down and listen. Take time to meditate, if you like that word better. Basically sit down and stop doing stuff. Stop knowing what you're doing. Stop needing to know the answers. Just sit down and just be. Breathe. Listen to your breath. Listen to the heartbeat. The heart that loves you. And it's beating for you all the time. I love you. 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 This is the heart. It's like love you. Love you. Love you. Boom, 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 boom. Love you. Love you. So take some time to relax the heart. Help it so that it can help you. Take time to shut up, sit down and listen. Thank you.